the last one, the last possibility we have is axial extension. Which is when along the axis of the spine we take the curves out. We extend, but it doesn't take us into back bending. It's a particular term for what we do when we lengthen through the spine and it takes the curves out. So taking the curves out of the spine does give us more length. And certainly can be an interesting thing to do, as can any of these joint actions. But that lengthened spine with no curves is not an arrangement of the vertebra that allows us to get the most shock absorption or to use the least effort to stand up. In axial extension, there's less movement available, partly because we have to engage the muscles so strongly to maintain it. And if we really get all the curves flattened out, everything is so engaged that it tends to make the rib cage less mobile and the pelvis less mobile and the head get a little fixed in its position as well. So there's less movement in the spine, and then there's less movement in all these structures that are attached to the spine. So I don't think axial extension is a place to live as a baseline, this is what I'm trying for all the time. I think sometimes it gets talked about in that way, that we want to be as long or as tall as possible. And while I do always aspire to being as tall as my sister is, I don't actually, being that long all the time is a lot of work. And it's not the best way to, not ever going to get that tall. So, because she's 5'8", so I can't get 4 inches out of, I can't get 6 inches. Anyway, yeah, it's not efficient. It might be interesting and it might be aesthetically pleasing, something like axial extension. Certainly that length and lightness that dancers, maybe ballet dancers, go for, or and a certain approach to yoga might set out to say that's the goal and that's what they want to do. And it becomes an interesting question in positions like Tadasana or something like, what is it that you're doing with the spine? And I think that if someone says, or if a teacher, a founder of an approach to yoga wants to say Tadasana is about being as tall as you can possibly be and take the curves out of your spine, lengthen your spine, that's what Tadasana is about, that's fine. That's what they get to say. It's just not the most efficient use of our musculoskeletal system. It's a lot of effort to maintain that, and it may be worth it to do that. They may say, well, this should be effortful and it should build up energy or strength or whatever. It's just that all of the curves taken out of our spine, however much curve we have, taking all the curves out is not neutral. And that's all. That's my only issue with saying that, is that when the assumption that that choice is also what neutral is. And there's a lot of things we could say Tadasana is about. I would like to make it in my own practice about finding the quietest and most alert standing that I can find, which for me would be this balance between bones and muscles that lets me be ready to act but also aware of myself, maybe. So by that definition, I would be looking for balance of all the curves in my spine, or something like neutral extension. But that's only my definition of Tadasana. Someone else could say what they want to say about it. And lots of other people do.